Hey guys, today I'm doing a little different content other than traveling. I've met Lexy through one of my best friends and we are in Seoul, Korea. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from?
Yep, so I'm from America. Originally, I'm from Maryland, a pretty small town in Maryland, and then I moved to New York for about 2 years, and then I moved to Seoul, Korea.
And what do you do for work in Seoul?
I am an actor and a voice actor. There's a kind of a need for American actors, or not just American, but people that speak English to act here, especially in voice acting, I think, because like Korea's trying to attract more foreign people from what my understanding is. And so like things like, let's say like it's a museum and they want a speaker that's gonna say like the translation in English, like an English speaker for that type of thing. So I was able to get an agency here and then start working here as an actor. The voice acting has actually been something I wanted to focus more on, even in America. And so being able to do that here while traveling in Asia was really amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And how good is your Korean level based on 1 to 10 in regards to the proficiency?
I think I'm like maybe a 2 or 3. I know a lot of vocab, but my confidence in making grammatically correct sentences is very low.
It's hard to put a sentence together.
Yeah.
Especially
Exactly.
when the grammar is so different from Korean and English.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's like completely flipped, and also like knowing honorifics and things like that. I mean, they're not too hard, but it's on the spot when you're trying to think of answering someone. It's like, oh, how do I form my sentence?
It takes some time until being able to formulate the full sentence very naturally.
Yeah.
It took me time for me to do that in English as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
hella hard. And is that enough for you to get around in Korea?
It's better, especially in like work environment, to know more Korean. I've known people who know way less than I do and they're perfectly fine getting around. So if you're in like the big areas like Incheon, Hongdae kind of areas, I think like that you can find enough people that speak English, and also most things have like the English translation under like the Korean word and that. But I think like the most important is to learn how to read Hangul. Like even just the subway system, like you know where your stop is and you can read it and understand it. And then there's so much like Konglish, I guess, with like things that like pizza, things that like you can read on a menu. If you just read Hangul, you'll know it's technically English.
Yeah. But written as Korean.
Yeah, it's written in
Yeah.
Korean, but it's an English word. So if you can read it, then you know what it says, basically. Like,
Right.
I think almost everything on like a cafe latte,
Yeah.
cafe latte.
Like
a
vanilla
cafe,
latte.
Yeah.
Americano.
Yeah, anything on a cafe menu, I think you can probably figure out just by reading it. And that's like, I think you can learn that in like a day or two. It's not, it's a really easy language to read, I think. Yeah.
So guys, if you're thinking of moving to Korea, do not be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Definitely no. It's a lot easier than you think. I still will say like try your best to learn as much as you can, just because I think it's not even necessarily needed. It's just I think it's respectful to try to learn the other cultures.
At least
language.
the basics, right?
Yeah.
Just saying like
Definitely.
hello, thank you, excuse me, things like that.
Yeah.
Where are some of your favorite areas or neighborhoods to hang out in Seoul?
Well, my first area that I ever lived was in Hongdae. It still has a special place in my heart. I really like the area, especially for shopping. But that's probably where I spent like all of my American money was all in Hongdae on shopping, because I knew that's what I wanted to do first when I got here. And there's so many different like styles and different things that you don't see in America as much. So, and it's really cheap. Especially if compared to American prices, it's super cheap. And if you have the American dollar, it goes a long way.
Even cheaper.
Yeah, it's really nice. But besides that, there's also, so I don't remember the like specific area in Dongdaemun, but Dongdaemun as a whole, I really enjoyed being there. Yeah, they have really pretty cafes and I think that's like the cafe culture is really pretty there, and the views are nice. And then like several of I would suggest like at least going on like 2 hikes. There's so many mountains here.
Yeah.
And going to the top of basically any of them, I feel like it's just such a pretty view of like Korea, and you could even see some palaces at some of them, but I can't remember which one I was at that I saw, but it's really cool.
That's the great thing about living in Seoul, because the mountains are nearby, the oceans are not that far. It's a few hours away from Seoul, and it's doable. It's not like traveling for 8 hours and then finally I get to see an ocean.
That's the thing is like, because it's so much smaller than America. I joke about this with my mom because we're from Maryland, and there's Frederick, Maryland, which is like 2 hours away from our hometown. But we're always like, oh, it's right next door, it's right there. And I'm like, it's 2 hours though. 2 hours here, I can like be in a whole different like location. Like it feels like so different. So I feel like you can travel Korea in what we perceive as like no time. Right.
Especially with KTX, which is the high-speed train. With 2 hours, you can maybe go all the way to Busan. I'm not sure, but I think you can get pretty close to Busan. Which is down all the way of Korea. Which is not doable in the United States. Right.
It's so true. You can see a lot of it. And there's so much to see. But also, like, public transportation is amazing, too. I feel like you can get almost anywhere with either a bus or subway or KTX. Yeah.
And do you use Naver Map for you to be guided about what subway to take or what bus to take?
I use it. I use Naver Map, but I actually use Kakao Map more.
Oh, is there a reason why you prefer that?
I think at this point it's just what I'm used to. I don't really think there's a good reason for it. But I have found that sometimes Naver Map will show more options for like directions versus Kakao. So,
interesting.
Yeah, but I guess you can go either way. I know I had a lot of problems using it when I first got here because like when you would get an address in English, it doesn't really work that well in the
foreign country.
So you kind of have to like translate the English address into Korean and then put that in the map. But so that was like hard because I think that people, when they give you an address and you speak English, they think it's easier for you if they write it in English letters, but it's harder because then you can't put it in the GPS.
Exactly.
So I'm like, no, just give it to me in the Korean, in Hangul.
Because if the spelling is incorrect in English, but that is pronounced as Korean words, then that's not going to pull up on the map application. But the fact that your Korean level is about 2 or 3 and you're able to get around places with transportation, I think that's amazing. I'm glad that Korea has that infrastructure for you to travel like that, because getting around in places in Korea is pretty, I mean, in Seoul especially, is very cheap and also very convenient. You can pretty much get anywhere in Seoul with taking public transportation.
I think so, pretty much. And I didn't find it to be very difficult to follow the subway at all. And I've heard that from other people, like it's pretty easy. I think it's probably even easier than like NYC transportation. It seems easier because I remember taking longer to understand that than I did to learn the Korean transportation. It's also so much cleaner. Like everything is so clean here. So
very different from the transportation.
Nothing's
States.
Gonna smell like urine. It's nice.
Exactly. What was the hardest thing for you after you moved to Seoul?
Definitely not having my group of friends with me. I think that was the hardest. I was lucky enough to meet friends here, but it feels more like individual friends from different locations that I've met. Whereas like in America, I have my group of friends that we always hang out and we do all this stuff together. So it's just something I miss of like, oh, we're going out as a group. It just feels more alive and like in my comfort zone instead of like a one-on-one type of thing. But and also I'm still in my group chat with my old friends from America, so I see when they hang out without me and it's like, oh, my heart, like I mean of course I want them to, but it sucks because I can't be there. But you're
like, God, I wish I was there.
I think if that was one thing I could like do is like bring them all here, and then I would feel like, okay. But I think since I've only been here a year, it takes time to build up like a friend group. So especially since I'm an introvert, so I think it just takes time for me to find a whole group of friends, and ones that you like trust and know. So
so I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are also introverts. There are going to be extroverts, but I know that there are going to be introverts who might be thinking about moving to Seoul. So what are some of the things that you can recommend to them in regards to how to make friends in Korea?
Yeah, well, I definitely suggest like there's like lots of meetups for like people that want to learn English and people that speak English that want to learn Korean as well. So that's where I found several of my friends. I met them through like English meetups and things like that, where language exchange is what they also are called. Kind of like blind dating in a way. Like they put you at a table with like 4 other people. Some are foreign and some are Korean. And then you just get to know each other that way, and then you like switch tables. It's pretty interesting.
So it's like a speed dating?
Yeah, it's kind of like speed dating. Yeah, like speed dating. It can be hard as an introvert to do that, but I mean, you'll find so many people, they'll ask the right questions. They'll be like, oh, where are you from? Why are you here? And because I think, especially with other foreigners, we're all traveling, we're all different. Like, we're all different from the mass of the people, like the Koreans. So you'll find like lots of similarities with your stories and theirs, I think, to being like, I just found it interesting that when I meet other foreigners, usually as an introvert, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be different than other people. They're not going to understand me. But like, we are all decided to be this adventurous, like do this adventurous thing and come to a different country and live here. So of course, you're going to find a lot of similarities with those people. And also like on the Korean end of things, like they're very interested in why you came here and like want to know more about you, and if they're there, they want to know like your culture too. So it seems easy to like share and give information and learn about them too. Yeah.
People are always interested about other people's cultures and their stories. They want to hear about what triggered them to move to a different country. Like, because that's a big move in anybody's life. For them to abandon friends group and then move to a completely new place, to make new friends, to move to a new place. I mean, it's starting from ground zero again, pretty much. That's a big move. So I think that's a great place to meet people, because naturally they're interested about hearing your story.
Right, and I think it alleviates like the awkward small talk that like you sometimes get if you're meeting new people in say America and you're American. There's not going to be as much to immediately know what to talk about. But here, like, you already know what your conversation's going to be. Like it's about your culture, about your life, and why you're there. So yeah, it's easier to make conversation, I think, in that way, in that setting.
What has been your experience with dating life in Korea?
Dating life. Well, okay, I'm currently dating somebody and I'm very happy in that relationship. I went on dates with 2 people before I met my current boyfriend. From my experience is they are more polite per se. Like, they will hold your bag for you. They will like, I think there's like this like stigma with like at least American men where it's like I need to be manly and not show that I appreciate my significant other or something, like with a lot of men, not everyone, but
so a lot of them will not hold your bag.
Yeah, they won't hold your bag. Like, they don't want to be seen like looking too into you. Like, they're like, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. They want to look a little cool.
They want to look cool.
They look like they have their emotional status under control, even though they're like, oh my god, I like her so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a thing that is so different here that I found is like that they're not afraid to say they like you and like show that they do and all this. But on the other hand, I do feel like there's more like ghosting here, because I feel like confrontation is not really as much of a thing, maybe.
People can be less direct in Korea.
Yeah, less direct. So it's like when they're not interested anymore, it's like a hard cutoff is what it felt like. In general, my experience was pretty good, but
that's good.
Yeah, but like with my current relationship, I think while you may think that like culture differences won't matter and like we're not that different, we're not. You have to know like what's normal for what do they expect from their girlfriend and thing. Like I think there's like certain days, like the 100 days you've been together, like so
like 22 days.
Yeah, there's like more anniversaries here, I think. Even though like my boyfriend speaks really good English, it's still there is the language barrier of we can't express what we mean as easily. Like you have to get past emotions. It. Yeah, you can say like the basic words, but there's like there's more vocab needed to fully express how you feel about something sometimes, and also like things in our background that I will never understand, like, oh, these are the TV shows he watched as a kid, or something like even minor like that. Like, yeah. But in general, it's not that different from dating in other countries, probably.
I'm guessing that aspect is not that significant, not that large enough.
No. Yeah, I think the biggest thing has just been I have like a lot of guy friends, and that's not quite as normal here to have guy friends that are like when you're dating somebody else. Yeah, when you're dating a guy, it's unusual. So it's been something that like we have to talk about and know where our boundaries are with that situation, and be like, oh, like I'll tell you when I'm hanging out. Like you just have to work around things. Yeah, try to understand each other and where you're coming from.
And what is the last thing that you would like to tell the viewers if they're thinking about moving to Korea?
Be secure. Know that nobody's looking at you and judging you. Just knowing that like they want to know you too. They're interested in your culture, they're not interested in trying to judge you or be like, why are you here? And I think that's something that when I first came here, I was afraid of offending people too much, so that I just didn't talk to people at all. When you get to know people and you talk to them, you realize, oh no, they're so open-minded too, and they want to know you and things like that. So yeah.
And is that because you thought maybe Korea is less interested about being curious about other people?
No. I mean, I think they definitely are interested, especially on social media. When you look up like living in a different country, you see a lot of negative things first. And so I saw all of those things, and I was worried that being different from most people would cause people to not like me. And I think also because of being from America, which like I think most Americans are self-aware enough to know that we have like a reputation of being kind of like annoying and like loud and all of this, that like people just don't like us all the time, like sometimes. So I just was worried that I would come across of that stereotypical American, like, oh, I'm the best and I know everything. So I was like, I wanted to be like a little quiet mouse and not be noticed too much, but like just enough to like enjoy life. But I think there isn't really that thought on people as much as I thought there was. Yeah, so I think I put it on myself. Yeah.
But I think that came naturally to you because you're moving to a whole new country, and then it's also her first country in Asia. Actually, first time living outside of the United States, from what I know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that would have been nerve-wracking experience as well, where I have to change everything from my environments to the people I meet, just literally everything.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm happy to hear that you're having a great time in Seoul.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely worth traveling and worth living here. There's so much to see, so much to do, so many nice people. So you definitely, I don't think you'll regret it. You should just do it.
Yeah, that's right. You heard it from her. If you're thinking about traveling to Korea or living in Korea, just pull that trigger. Why not? What is the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, that's true. I always think you should go before you regret it. Like no matter what age you are, you can go. You can travel and see things. So yeah, definitely go for it.
Yeah.
It's something you're thinking about.
Koreans are way more chill than you might think. Of course, you might hear some scare stories. But in general, Koreans, especially in Seoul, they speak English to a certain degree. And you're able to communicate with them easily, and they're generally open-minded. They're nice people. And I would say it's a very safe city. They have CCTVs everywhere, so even if you get drunk and pass out on the street, you're not gonna get kidnapped or anything.
I'm at a cafe or something and I want to leave for a second. You can just leave your laptop, your phone, anything just sitting there. Nobody's gonna take it, and it'll probably be there when you come back, even if you left for like a day or something. I don't know. It might still be there. And also, like, as far as like late night stuff goes, like I know in America it's like kind of dangerous to take taxis late at night or like things like that, but here it's like I feel like I've met the nicest people in the late night taxis. Like all the taxi drivers are so interested in where I came from, like why I'm there, and like they're so talkative. It's really interesting. Like even if they don't fully know what you're saying, they will like translate on like talking to like Papago and try to understand what you're saying to them. It's been really a nice experience. Yeah.
That is awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for sharing your story. What are some of your questions that you have? Some other questions that you would like to ask her on the next video? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll try to make that into another video. But thanks for your time today.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Well, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video.